In life, and in 2021, it's not uncommon to feel somewhat joyless and aimless. It's not depression, it's the absence of well-being. It turns out that in the field of psychology, there's a name for that. They call it languishing. Languishing is a sense of stagnation and emptiness. It feels as if you're muddling through life, looking at your life through a foggy windshield. Part of the danger is that when you're languishing, you might not notice the dulling of delight or the dwindling of drive. You don't catch yourself slipping slowly into solitude. You're indifferent to your indifference. When you can't see your own suffering, you don't seek help or even do much to help yourself. My name's Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And who was that?
That's a hot new rapper that's coming up, a talented young rapper, calls himself the New York Times, or NYT for short.
The New York Times.
Yeah.
Didn't really sound like a rap.
Per se. No, well...
Sounded kind of like he was talking. Sounded kind of like he was ripping off the streets.
yeah.
A little bit there.
Slipping slowly into solitude, indifferent to your indifference. I liked how that was written.
Contemporary the streets.
Yeah, it was actually an article from the New York Times about languishing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a good description. I feel like, maybe sometimes I languish. Sometimes people out there listening, they probably languish.
I'd say a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Oh, how's it?
It's
better.
It's better. Good. So one of our graphics has disappeared, but let's not worry about it.
Look, I noticed that. I didn't want to bring it to your attention because I didn't want to try and fiddle
you didn't
around.
Want to have to fix that.
Well, it's more that the confusion is that like checking that actual thing, it's all there, and we are at the bottom. That's us, and there's nothing below us.
Yeah.
So it just seems to have.
Well, it doesn't really matter. It's fine.
Well, at least we're keeping track of the beer money. We've raised $7
out of $100. Yep.
Yeah.
People can donate if they want on Twitch, and if they donate on Twitch, that beer money graphic will go up. It'll go up. And so if you go along to Twitch and search for Pigville and you watch the live stream right now live on Twitch, there's an option down below. It says show us your tips, and you can do a tip, and then an animation will come on the screen, and the beer money will go up in value. This is amazing.
Now, we started off with 2 watches.
Yeah.
And then due to technical difficulties, we lost one of our watches.
Well, for a while...
And it's possible that... Well, no, actually...
It was just
me.
It was... Yeah. So that's good. Popular show. People love it.
We lost one of our viewers. It was me with an extra tab open.
Yeah.
Oh no!
No, we're going to be big stars, rich and famous by 45, I reckon.
No. It's not started off well. Okay, I can probably put these down now. Well, welcome along to Guy and Harley podcast, and it's well, I mean, I just feel like we say this every week. Well, I do anyway. Busy. It's busy times. Busy times for me. But what's been going on with you?
Well, I did get, I mentioned last week that I had some auditions, and I managed to get a callback, which was quite nice. So I've had a callback for a major supermarket brand. It's a supermarket brand that will open up a whole new world to me. And if I get it, and so I'm waiting to hear about that. But I'm kind of hoping like I'll hear tomorrow or at least this week if I'm on. So I'm on the short list. I know I've had my second audition. They show me $50. They pay me $50 just for showing up. It's the actor's life. $50 just for showing up. It's up the road from my house.
Well, you did describe the audition in this particular audition. And I was like, yeah, I can really see you doing that. I can really see you nailing that. It sounds like exactly the type of role that you would do really well.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed that
Fingers crossed.
That it's all good.
Yeah, and our dear friend Jocelyn Christian, a.k.a. Susan from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, was in the same audition as me. So potentially we could both be in the same ad. which would be quite cool. Quite cool to see the stars of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
That would actually be amazing.
All these years later.
If you guys both booked an ad completely independently,
Yeah.
as a couple,
Yeah.
in this thing completely separate a decade later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be good shit.
Yeah, well, it could happen. It's currently, potentially could happen. And I think we'll probably hear, well, I hope to hear tomorrow, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, it's a public holiday today, so you wouldn't have heard anything. Tools have been downed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I think this could be it. And happy birthday to Joss. It was just her birthday the other day.
Yeah, you didn't message her. She mentioned that.
I did not message her, but I did. Well, I did message her. So this is kind of where I'm at. I got a calendar notification, because I have her in my notifications to wish her a happy birthday. Don't check Facebook for birthdays. Only have calendar notifications. I got the notification, then was busy with something else, then forgot, did not wish her a happy birthday. Then realized that because when I went back on my computer, the notification was just sitting in the top corner, like 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
Or what actually I thought was 1 day later. So I was like, that's all right, I'm a day late. So I sent her a happy birthday. I was like, happy birthday. I realized I'm a day late, but I'm actually working off UK time, which gives me an extra day to do everything. So you have to throw a little joke in there.
Yeah, it's complete. Oh, yeah, I guess it's right. Yeah, it's right.
Threw a little joke in there. And then she was like, yeah, well, that's cool, but it was 3 days ago.
yeah.
No, and I was like, okay, so I've got this doubly wrong.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to Joss.
Indeed. This role, if I get it, right, $6,000 for the day. Not bad for a day's work. It's not the high end, but it's not the low end. It's in the middle of the ad range there. $6,000 for a day's work. I wouldn't turn my nose up at it. But the thing is, it's only one line, 8 words. So that's $750 per word.
I'm glad you've done the math on that.
Well, that's what I'm worth. And here I am slumming it on the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm not. I think it actually costs me to say words on this show.
Probably.
I think I'm literally, because I pay every month, or we pay every month the Libsyn, hosting fees. It's literally costing me per word that I put out here.
Yeah.
And the more words I put out, the less I get paid per word.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So
fucking slumming it out here. $750 per word. That's going to be my new rate.
$750 per word. Well, I imagine quite a lot of voiceover artists might get that for certain jobs. So, well, good luck with that. What else has been going on?
I also went and got my second and final COVID vaccine, so I'm all vaccinated now, 100% fully vaccinated. And I did wake up in the middle of the night, like with chills, and was all like shivery and stuff like that. But it was a cold night as well, and I was having a shitty sleep, and I had all these real bad body aches. But the thing is that I had also gone to the gym for the first time since before COVID.
So were you having a reaction to the COVID vaccination, or going to the gym?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, and I think it was the gym.
The gym gave you chills.
No, I think the gym gave me an achy body and a shitty sleep, and then my shitty sleep made me feel like kind of fluish because I hadn't had a very good sleep. And then, as a result, it came to this perfect storm, and it was a cold night of like chills, shitty sleep, body ache, coincidentally at the same time that I had the COVID vaccine. It's a coincidence. It's just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence.
It was a cold night. So gymming, but I've been to the gym 3 times now since the last episode. I'm back on the wagon, baby. I fell off the wagon rolled back, parked on top of me. I got up, I heaved that wagon off of me. Now I'm back on the wagon. The gym wagon.
Yeah. Well, I have been quite bad at the gym last week myself, actually. But for me, it was the last week. For you, it's been
a year and a half.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I did also have a back injury, which would have been fixed a lot quicker had I been going to the gym.
Yeah.
Had I been going.
Had you been rehabbing and recovering in the gym.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is, I knew all along as well. I was like, as soon as I get back in the gym and back into it regularly, which I'm not yet, but if I get to that point where I feel like, I miss it, I just know that as soon as I start again, that I'll be like, damn it, Harley, why didn't you do this ages ago?
Yeah.
The biggest mistake I made really was quitting my gym in the first place, because I was like, fuck it, I'm moving like 4 blocks away. I'll go to a gym closer to my house. And then I went to this new gyms, and they sucked. I didn't like them. And then COVID, and I hurt my back, and then COVID happened. I was like, all right, well, that's the end of my gymming. Fuck it. I'll just be a lardy piece of shit. Again.
Yeah.
Just revert to my natural form of lardy piece of shit.
Majin Buu.
Yeah, exactly. Meets fucking Krillin. Imagine Krillin. Margin Buu. Margin Krillin. Anyway, I also made my final Spermquest deposit. So that's good. They needed 6. They said that they would need 6 deposits. In order to donate sperm, you've got to, pass a bunch of tests and so forth, but you've also got to make a certain amount of deposits so that they've got enough volume to use it on up to 5 women for up to 10 babies, right? So they have to get sufficient volume, and they say that sufficient volume is 6 deposits. Not me. I just do it in 1 deposit, but it's enough. But I gave them 6 anyway. But
they said the volume was enough with your first, but you just came back another 5 times.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to come back. You didn't realize. You go, no. It says you have to make 6 deposits, so that's what I'm here to do.
I wasn't even in the lab. I was just in the secretary in the foyer, just walking around, jerking off, harassing the patients.
So you've done that.
Yeah. So
now what happens?
Well, I did want to say, like, I got a $50 Prezi voucher for every one of those of those 6 deposits. That's $300 worth of free groceries now that I've had for that.
Jerking off has paid for your groceries.
$300 worth. And the other day I had my audition, which was a callback, $50, and then I went and made my final deposit. That's $50. So before lunchtime, I'd had a wank and gone to an audition, and I made $100. I've gone pro. I'm living the dream here, people. And so what happens next is they've got to still quarantine. So I've been quarantined once already, but they sort of they need to quarantine so that from the last deposit there's 6 months, and then they do recheck your bloods and all that type of thing. So in the interest of making sure that everything's all health and safety. And so basically, they've got the volume now, and now we wait. And then I just have to keep doing more tests.
In 6 months, you do the tests.
Yeah.
Assuming everything's A-okay.
Yeah. Then families will start applying, and so they'll see...
Do you ever know anything about that?
Yeah. So families will apply to use it, and I've said that anyone can use it. They can be gay, they can be straight, whatever, trans, this, that, the other thing, any ethnicity. I don't even mind if they're not even a fully formed human being. They said, can we use your sperm for donor eggs? So what that means is if there might be a couple, and maybe neither of them have sperm and eggs, and so they'll take a donor egg and my donor sperm and put it together inside the woman, so it's a whole other thing. Anyway, I said yes to all of that, and so basically what happens, so there's a lack of Caucasian sperm donors in New Zealand for a start, so I got that white gold, and and then there's also a shortage overall. So in New Zealand, there's an overall shortage of donors because we don't pay. In America, they pay, right? But here in New Zealand, no donors whatsoever because it's just a big pain in your ass, and why would you bother? You're not getting paid. And so yes, what's going to happen is they're going to apply they'll see my portfolio, but without my picture on it, just my baby pictures.
So that's a good question.
Yeah.
So for them,
yeah,
they get a portfolio on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does it have your grades in high school and shit?
Nah. So it just has like a bunch of questions about me that I answer personally, like
right.
How do I respond under certain circumstances,
yeah.
and what do I think about this, and do I have any thoughts on that, and that type of thing. So there's a profile that you create, plus you send in these baby photos. And I was a fucking cute baby, so that's
very misleading, isn't it?
Very misleading. Very misleading. You see me as a cute little blonde-haired baby, and then you see me today as this bald, this prematurely bald man. Short, yep. But I'm pretty sure all my measurements are in there.
Right.
So it's like height 173, waist 99, hips 90, penis 19. You know,
So
it's all in there, all the measurements.
you can't. But it's just weird that, you know, it's like, who cares what you look like when you're a baby?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they're not really looking for like designer babies per se. What they're looking for is healthy babies.
Right.
Good genes, healthy babies that look enough. Well, I mean, not necessarily. You know, like potentially that maybe look like your partner. You know, so if you've got a short bald partner, you'll be fucking lining up first for my sperm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But, so they look at your profile.
Yep.
They go, cool, let's do it.
Yep.
We'll take some of this.
Yep.
We'll
That
take some of
white
this
gold.
volume.
Yeah. That voluminous white gold.
So.
Yeah.
You've done that.
Yeah.
They've applied.
Yeah.
You don't have any say.
No.
The sperm bank does.
So yeah, like they have to decide if these people are going to be good parents and that type of thing. Like there's a whole bunch of hoops they've got to jump through as well. That's nothing to do with me. Then it all gets approved, and then I will be notified when that sperm has been used.
But
and
then
you
you don't know anything else.
No, but the kids do have a right to be able to contact me in the future. I don't have to reply to them, but I have to put down like an email address or whatever so that they
What
can
if you change your
contact me.
email address?
Tough shit, kiddies. Sorry, son.
Sorry, son.
Sorry, son.
You go, sorry,
I'm a deadbeat.
You go, sorry, son, but Hotmail went out of fashion. So I got a Gmail account and I never knew you.
No, they do like to keep your contact details up to date on the
Right.
You know, on the
Okay.
you know, so they keep in touch with you maybe
Yeah.
once a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Check with you, I don't know. But yeah, so that is going to happen at some point, where people will call me up and be like, "Hi, Harley. This is 18 years from now. I'm your son. I want to kill you. I'm going to kill you for giving me life. I've been miserable my whole time.
I harbour a lot of resentment towards
I harbour
you.
a lot of resentment towards
and
you
your absence.
for bringing me screaming into this world
For a laugh.
for a laugh.
For essentially a lark.
No,
To
it's-
validate your ego.
Yeah, it's for my ego. Yeah, it's because I want to
Yes,
affect evolution. You know, it's very important to me that I affect evolution. I've got these great genes that have been getting passed along for billions of years. It all comes down to this moment in time, and here I am. I can't even get a girlfriend. I'm 38 years old. I'm going to be the one who drops the fucking ball. It's not on, right? I've got to take measures to ensure that these excellent genes continue. And this is a great way to do it because obviously 10 kids to 5 different families from different, presumably, socioeconomic groups and geographies, you know, so in terms of like ensuring your offspring survive, I'm diversifying, and diversification is key.
Well, it is to income.
Well, it's also to survival. If you have them all in Auckland and something happens in Auckland, well, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
If you have them spread out around the country, you know, in different walks of life, you know,
Yeah.
that's good for survival. That's why you know, when a plant, you know, like those fairy things that you blow, those flowers that you blow, and all the little things come off them, and they,
Yeah.
fuck, what are they called? Anyway, seeds and shit. Flowers, fucking trees, fucking seeds. They spread them out.
Dandelions.
Dandelions, that's the one. Dandelions. I'm a human dandelion.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
Well, we'll look forward to not knowing anything about that past the notification that someone is trying to use your sperm at a later date.
Yeah, although I think that I will get notified if they have a successful pregnancy.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they said that if a child is born, they'll let me know type thing. So maybe they won't let me know if I just get somebody uses it and it's unsuccessful. Maybe I don't hear.
Moving on.
Yep. Moving on from sperm.
Listener questions.
Okay.
Feedback. Well, first we should say I got a message from our friend Richard Lambeth, who listens to the show, and he also hated Army of the Dead with a passion, absolute passion, and said that we, the people, have to stop collectively swallowing Zack Snyder's jizz.
Yep.
We have to stop it.
Yeah.
Because it's gone too far. And we've done it too often and too much without good reason, without justification. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
He's had 2 good films.
It was Memento.
No, I wish he did he wish he did Memento.
It was Nolan, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he's done the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah, in the mall. Yeah.
Which was a good zombie film.
Yeah.
Also, curiously, it's like he forgot all the lessons he fucking learned making his first one. He was like, throw everything that worked about that, like in terms of like character development, in terms of sort of how to make the zombies scary, just throw it all out. Don't need it. All the things I established in that one that made it good, don't need them. We'll replace them with things that are varying degrees of shitness. It's just weird.
Well,
you make one zombie film, you think you're a genius all of a sudden.
sounds familiar.
You think you're an auteur.
I feel like I know somebody like that.
You think you're an auteur filmmaker that is entitled and deserves fucking the world.
Well, Dip Creek Productions commented about that on YouTube. They were listening, and they commented about Zack Snyder's Vegas of the Dead.
Yeah.
What's it called? Land of the Dead?
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. And he says, or she says, I didn't understand why they didn't just fly a helicopter from the start and land directly on top of the bank.
There's many questions that don't make sense. Of course, that would have made way more sense and just
Yeah.
blow the door.
Yeah.
If the door's locked, just pick the lock even. Don't
Yeah.
even have to do anything. Walk your way down.
Yeah.
Do anything that, like, there was just so many logic gaps in that it was just like, and this is what I was just thinking about this the other day, but I was like, here's the problem with kind of studio films, new studio films, it seems to me, is that they'll spend $10 million on a zombie tiger, but I bet you $10 million that they didn't spend $10 million on the script.
No.
And it's like, we need to invest, like when a movie is thinking about making a movie, they need to invest as much in that script as any other thing they're doing. Not be like, yeah, so you just write that. Is it ready in 6 months? We'll shoot it. It's like, we need to invest in making this script real good. Otherwise, a zombie tiger doesn't fucking matter because this is fucking terrible. And we don't care that there's a zombie tiger. And it just boggles my mind that, you know, they brag about, yeah, like, this cost this much, or we put a whole new character into this scene because we didn't like the old character because he got Me Too'd, you know, and this is how we did it. And it's like, how about learn how to write a fucking script? Like, can we start there? Can we start with really investing in that? Like, some real time and money. So, that was just a side note about that. But we had a question from a new listener who's become a listener to the podcast through the Savage Filmmaker channel, my YouTube channel. And he has quite an interesting question, and it's quite long. The Marlin Cliff, or the fake Marlin Cliff, depending on which thing you follow. But Marlin Cliff, anyway, basically had an interesting filmmaking question, and this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
And so he wanted us to sort of talk a little bit about and kind of give him some advice on something that he's going through as a sort of an indie filmmaker. So he's, and you know, he's also told me his whole life story. It's a fascinating life story, and he's been through a lot. Let's just say that right now. He's been through a lot. He's got a lot of life experience, and he's about our age, so a little bit younger, like maybe 4 years younger than us, sort of early 30s. And he's just having what you would call a filmmaking renaissance. So he kind of went down all these other pathways in his life. He did a whole bunch of different things. He started off making movies just like we did when he was sort of 15, 16. Really loved it, was super passionate about it, then kind of got sidetracked through relationships, through jobs, through university, and also through the perception that you couldn't necessarily make money as a filmmaker. Like pursuing that as a career was a ridiculous objective. So he's now come back round to it, and he's just starting a new sort of production company. And one of the things that he's developing, so he's making things, I think he's freelancing, he's doing corporate stuff, all that sort of thing, and trying to get, you know, do creative things. He's trying to build out his sort of production, as in buy new gear, etc., etc. That's why he's watching my channel. And he, I guess you would say, is first and foremost, much like I was, a writer. So he started off as a writer, and he's written 2 novels, unpublished, but still. So he's got a lot to write about, and he's developed a screenplay for a TV pilot, which I think is basically about skateboarding, which he used to do and probably still does. That he's super passionate about. I think it's called Pit Crew. So anyway, he's developed this TV pilot, and the curious thing about all of this is that he sought out and received some advice from 2 very distinguished filmmakers. Now, one of them, and I'm going to grill you on this. Well, I mean, one of them, I didn't know who it was. So the first one, we'll just get this out the way. Okay, so this is Alex Colo, right? So Alex Colo is a screenwriter, most famous for writing Toy Story, and which was one of his favorite films, Marlon's favorite films. And also Evan Almighty is maybe, like, he's done heaps, but those were the ones that, so, he's a big time screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And his family has a connection to him, and so he sort of basically gave him some good advice, and he actually wrote like a sort of an endorsement letter of recommendation saying for Marlon to approach production companies with and say, look, I think this guy's super talented, I think this idea is really good, and, please sort of consider, taking a look at his work, which is amazing. Like, that's an amazing thing to have a letter from a Hollywood screenwriter, so established in the business, and also, a super nice thing to do. Now, he was looking for advice. It's unclear whether or not he actually read the script or not, but he sort of was looking for advice, and the question being, what should I do with this pilot? What should I do with this web pilot? TV pilot. Should I kind of try and shoot it myself? Because obviously I want to attach myself as director and all that sort of thing as we do. Should I try and shoot it myself, put it all together, and while still pitching it out and putting it out there? Or should I just be submitting it to agents and stuff like that and trying to get in the door that way? And Alex's advice was basically you can continue to do that, but you should try and get it shot. You should try and make it yourself. You should try and raise money, however that might be. And he's thinking through crowdfunding to sort of make this pilot. And his advice was get out there and just try and do it while you're trying to get past these gatekeepers sort of thing. So that was his advice. Now, he got the opposite advice from a little gentleman called Ed Burns. Do you know who that is?
Ed Burns.
Yes, correct.
No, who's Ed Burns?
So Ed Burns is quite famous in the independent filmmaking world as a sort of writer-director who essentially blew up, for a few things, but he blew up, and he's also quite an established actor. He was in fact, if you could just keep it in your pants for a little second, because he was, in fact, one of the stars of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Which one was he?
The good-looking guy. I guess there's a couple. Not Vin Diesel, not Matt Damon, but the kind of good-looking New Yorkie dude. So that's him. That's Ed Burns, and he's been in a million other things just as an actor. But he's also a filmmaker who has shot 7 or 8 feature films, maybe more. And he originally kind of got his big break by making a film called The Brothers McMullen, which was, a super low budget indie, what would be the equivalent of a micro budget film now, shot in and around New York with all his friends and his actor friends and stuff. And that ultimately he basically got in the elevator with Robert Redford, who was the head of Sundance and was basically talking about this film. And he was like, oh yeah, cool, we'll send it through. One thing led to another, and it ended up debuting at Sundance and making $11 million off the budget of a few $100,000 sort of thing. Back in the day when you had to shoot on film and all that sort of thing. So that was his beginning, and he's gone on to continue to make independent films, and he made a book, which I've read, I think, which is about him making a movie for $5,000 or $7,000 or $11,000 in the can sort of thing. So an indie filmmaker mogul, right? And again, he has a connection to Ed, and Ed called him up to give him advice, and was basically like, yeah, forget about doing this independently. You need to get an agent and get it attached and go that way with it. Don't be an indie filmmaker was basically his, not in those exact words, I'm sure, but like that was his advice about this particular project, which also he probably did not read. So his question to us is, we're independent filmmakers, of the same caliber as Ed Burns and Alex Colo. Sokolov, sorry.
Sokolov, it's a V.
No,
Alex Sokolov.
It's a W.
Oh, I'm looking there. You wrote Sokolov. Yeah. Alex Sokolo, all right.
So anyway, we can't even say his name right. So whose advice do you lean into here? Which way should you go with this TV pilot? What would you do? Go.
well, obviously given our history, the assumption would be that we would lean towards shooting it yourself if you can find a way to shoot it yourself, and you just create your own opportunities, and so on. But the thing is that the reason why that's good advice for us is because we don't have the chance to get it in front of a cool agent and get anything done with it. Like it's kind of like a fantasy version, or we can just go and shoot the fucking thing ourselves.
Right.
So we've got a practical version where we can start doing prep tomorrow, and we've got a fantasy one where we just indefinitely wait and just kind of, submit it to places.
Trying to get it to these gatekeepers.
Get it through these gatekeepers, and then you just spend a bunch of time with the gatekeepers, or even if you get it past the gatekeepers and then it doesn't come to fruition or whatever.
Yeah.
And all that time you could have been shooting your own one.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is that shooting it is also a shitload of money and time, and you're committing, a year or 2 years or 5 years or 7 years to creating this thing, depending on how long it's going to end up taking.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're starting from scratch with no money, and you've got to do a crowdfunding campaign, and then you've got to, do the shoot, and then, hope you've got enough money and all that stuff. So yeah, I guess you can kind of see what the guy, what's his name? Not Alex, the other one.
Ed Burns.
Ed Burns. You can kind of see what Ed Burns is saying there. He's like, yeah, man, like send it away, and don't have to spend all your time on it forever. But on the other hand, if you don't really think it's very realistic that you're going to get an agent and do all that stuff with it, then you might as well shoot it, right?
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of different elements at here, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because also, what he's talked about too is like the frustration of not having things read and not, submitting and not having people read, or I'll get back to you, it's on my back drawer, blah, blah, blah. And this is like a huge problem for especially writers starting out. And what do? Essentially you kind of have to take the power back and go, I need to, rather than make you read something, I will create something and still try and get people to read it. Like, I do think that's a problem, but I also think there's another problem within that, is that if you're not a good writer, who's going to tell you that? Who's going to sit you down, and are you going to believe them? And I'm not saying that he's not a good or bad writer. That's kind of beside the point, but you're kind of like, in all those submissions that you've already submitted, some people may have actually read it already, and they thought it was shit. And rather than tell you it's shit, which is hard, which is way worse, that's confrontational, it's negative, they could be wrong, they might look like an arsehole when you blow up, all of those things. So rather than tell you that, they just say they haven't read it. That's way easier. And so you can kind of get it, I was in a conversation with someone who's working on one of our projects at the moment, and she was like, I know this person who has a script, and they've got, I think, some money already in place to shoot it, but they don't want to direct it. And, so we're kind of looking for a director, and I was like, oh, well,
yeah, I'm a director.
Exactly. That sounds like the perfect gig, right?
Yeah.
That sounds super interesting. So I got the script, and I started reading the script, and after really half a page of page one, I was in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And my mood worsened through the duration, because also once you start reading something that you've committed to reading, Like, you've said, okay, I've got to read this, and obviously they're waiting for my feedback, so it's not like I can not read it. And it's not, and, you know, what an arsehole to give up after 5 or 10 pages, which is kind of the natural thing that happens, is people give up after that long. So I had to read this whole thing knowing that it was one of the worst scripts that I'd ever read.
And was it a feature?
And it was a feature.
Yeah.
That this person truly believed in.
And what was how much money do they have?
Well, I don't know. But however much money they have,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And that's the thing, because I was hoping I might read it and I'd be like, look, this is not perfect, but with a bit of revision and and workshopping and collaboration, it can be really good.
Yeah.
That was kind of where I thought it would be. But it was actually like, this story, the characters, every single thing about this is broken and pretty much unfixable in its current thing, from a logic standpoint, from a plot development standpoint, from a structure, like, just everything is fucked, right? So to unfuck it, you almost have to throw out every single thing. But also, how do you, because the honest thing is, this is a terrible script. You're not a writer. That's the issue, really. If I had to narrow it down, it's like, you are not a writer. Not everyone can be writers, you know. Some people are good at writing, some people aren't. Some people, you know, it comes natural to, and some people it doesn't. And for this person, it was not on the agenda to be capable of doing this. So, but I can't say any of that, because none of that works, right? None of that works in terms of, like, feedback. That's not really helpful, is it?
No,
like,
it's not.
it's not a helpful. It's not a helpful thing. Oh, I just. There we go. A light cut out. So, and I do wonder sometimes when, and I only say this because this is kind of the second time that I've said, I would read something. And then it was so atrociously bad very early on that I didn't know what to do, because I literally had nothing good to say about it. And I've been a script reader, so it's not like I'm just some guy that has an opinion. I mean, yes, I am, but you know, this is what I did as part of my job for a long period of time. And I also like to think that I'm quite, I have the ability to be relatively diplomatic about this, because I'm a writer myself. You know, I have feelings too. So, and that the first person, I basically read a little bit of it, and he did that thing where he goes, "Have you read it? Have you read it? Have you read it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah. No, it's on the agenda, mate. It's on the agenda," for like a year until he gave up.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Marlon is talking about happening. So I do think that there is a real problem as a sort of a sort of upcoming writer of how do you get things read. And I think there's only two real ways that it can happen, is that someone is looking for something specific, right? And that specific thing is similar to what you have. So, you know, they're looking for a horror film and you submit a horror film, right? Or they're looking for a very specific sports movie and you have a baseball sports movie. And so then they have much more reason right off the bat, because they're looking for that type of thing. So that's one way that someone might read your script. The other way is maybe, and this is a better way to do it, is to submit like 10 pages of something. Because 10 pages is a very easy read. And if those 10 pages are really good, actually, like, if I read 10 good pages of a script, I'd ask to read the whole script for sure. And I think that a lot of production companies, agents, whatever, would have that. But it's the commitment of the whole script. If you go, "Hey, I've got 10 pages I could flick your way," you know, I just think you have a much better chance. And then if they do ask for the further read, you know, at least you're sort of on the right track, that they may actually give it some time. So but I guess that's more from the writer's perspective. In terms of how do you get read if you're doing it the other way, if you're doing it let me just submit to people and build up that way.
The problem with that way is you're too reliant on other people for it to actually happen. You're hopeful and you're sitting and you're waiting, but you're not actually doing. Whereas if you shoot it yourself, you know, you grab fate by the balls.
I also think that, and I guess the other consideration you know, and it almost like
But you have to really believe in the project. Otherwise, you're not going to shoot.
No,
you shouldn't just shoot any old project. You have to be like, this project is going to be worth the time and energy and effort and money to actually make this. Because if it's going to take 5 years or whatever, you don't want to, you got to pick your battles.
I think most people start with that belief
that it's a good script.
Yeah, they're really.
Well, this guy that's asking the question, Merlin.
Yeah, Marlon Cliff, the fake or real Marlon Cliff. Yeah.
He needs to decide about that script if he wants to look at it for the next 5 years as he makes it himself, or if it's just worth sending away to other people and kind of moving on to the next thing.
I think the other consideration is it shootable?
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. Can you do it with low budget?
Can you do it with low budget? And what you find is your understanding of what can be done on a low budget will obviously change as you do more and more low budget things. Because what was our big problem with the zombie film is that we were trying to make a much bigger budgeted movie for a very low budget. So what does that mean? It means it is really filmmaking is fucking hard. Making a movie is hard. Making anything is hard. Making something that should have 10 times the budget is even harder. So it's just adding another layer of difficulty and complexity to, this indie thing. Whereas some people much smarter than us in that they start off with that contained thing and they go, well, I wrote it to be shot. It's just as long as you understand, did you really? Or did you write it how you think it would be cheap, but didn't really think through exactly what that meant? What really cheap is, because if you've got all these scenes like people walking down main streets and hanging out in malls and whatever, actually that becomes quite difficult. If they're hanging out in skate parks, actually that's quite shootable, I would imagine. But then is it this group of kids? How old are they? Then you've got to get these kids on board, these child actors. Maybe that's tricky depending on their age, but whatever. So I think there's definitely is it shootable? Is it shootable? If it is shootable, then, that definitely gives you more reason. And I think the other thing is your skill set up to the task of making a feature, So when we made our first feature, we had made, I guess, about 10 years worth of
that'd have been
content.
10 years we'd been making. Well, we'd actually been making films. I was 27 when we shot it, and we made our first film when we were 16.
Yeah, so 10 years of content. And obviously that's on and off, but we had definitely committed some time. We'd already had a failed TV pilot by then. That kind of got to a degree and then fell over. And I think that, back then, it would be true to say that the writing was better than our shooting abilities,
Mm-hmm.
So and that would probably still be true when we got to the zombie film. But
we did take quite a big step up with the likes of Lord of the Rings,
the gay Hobbit
Hobbit parody. I feel like because that was what we shot immediately prior, pretty much to the zombie film, was the gay Hobbit parody and the new WCRP Wellington City Rubbish Police,
which is
skits.
a skit about farts.
Yeah,
a skit about farts. That's how we prepped.
Yeah,
a skit about farts and a gay Lord of the Rings parody.
Yeah.
So some might say we were ill prepared.
Yeah.
So I do think though, for us, I think the dramatic jump was this is how a low budget set works, and this is how a low budget set works, but a set with a real crew and a real team and real gear and real equipment. And we'd never been on a set like that, and so, things...
Well, I had been.
Well, which set?
Garage, or no, they changed the name. Secondhand Wedding.
Right. Yeah, well...
Avatar, a little film called Avatar.
What I mean by that is, we had both, because I'd been on The Water Horse or some shit, I can't remember. So I'd been on a few, but I guess that's just not that's real big budget too.
Yeah.
I just thought
Secondhand Wedding wasn't.
Wasn't.
No, I think it was $1 million.
But it still had a real crew.
Yeah.
and a real, someone that pulls the focus and
Mm-hmm.
all those sort of
Yeah.
things that you don't necessarily think about when you're working micro budget. And I think for me, we'd been working a micro budget to go to low budget. It wasn't the technical, as in the, this is how you make a movie and how you edit shots together and all that. It was more like, this is how it works with an actual crew. Not just a few of your mates and chuck up a light and you're good to go.
Mm.
And so understanding all that process was a bit tricky. So, could we have done a better job had we done a few more of those kind of low budget shoots prior to? Well, yes, of course. But we didn't have that opportunity.
Mm.
We had this opportunity to make the film when we did. So all of those are considerations to think about. All of those are things that you need to, because I always thought I was trying to live up to the script of the zombie film. So I'd written a good script. Now I needed to execute that. That was the hard part. Is like, you had the good thing. Now how do you make this without fucking the good thing? So that was the pressure, So it all depends like where you think your skill level is and how experienced you are. But I would say ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to go with making it. Because A, you can't just wait around forever. B, if you make it and it fucking sucks, that doesn't mean that you couldn't still sell it. Because no one is ever going to notice or care about that fucking shitty version you did.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, hey, we love this script. And it's not like your shitty version got into all these amazing festivals and you're like, too late, you've killed it. They'll be more like, cool, anything we should know about this? And you go, nope.
Yeah. Hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah.
So,
yeah. What about shooting like a proof of concept type scene, a scene or two, and stitch them together, and then use that to pitch the script around?
I think a proof of concept would actually be a really good idea, because it's not as big as the thing.
Yeah, so you don't have to shoot the whole film and you can pick some shootable parts of it.
And also, like, if you think about making a movie, like, every scene, every line of dialogue, everything is another chance to fuck up, right? So the less chances, if you minimize your chances to fuck up, you minimize them down to 2 minutes. You go, nah, I'll get it right for 2 minutes. I might not get it right for 30 minutes. I might not get it right for an hour, but I definitely think I could get it right for 2 minutes. And if not, I can chuck some of those bits out, put some bits in that do work. Then, your proof of concept might be way stronger. And in fact, I just heard a story about, I'm not sure if you told me, maybe you didn't tell me, but someone was telling me that essentially they did exactly that. So, but they did it the other way around, which is much harder, or for them, is they shot a TV pilot and then they looked at the TV pilot and they're like, this is not very good. However, it will be a really good proof of concept. So we'll just throw all the shit out that didn't work and give them the TV, pilot. The problem with that is that essentially, they did that, but they shot the whole thing and they went to the trouble and they spent the money on the pilot first. So that could be a really good way around it. I think that's a very good suggestion. But I think ultimately you do have to, whether or not it's that big project, you do have to start shooting those narrative projects. If that's where you want to go, you want to direct and you want to write, then you should do both. You've written something, now direct some things, whether it's that or something smaller scale, just to kind of wet your whistle. That can be good. I do think the biggest problem with filmmaking is you really learn by doing, and there's no way to kind of like, unless maybe you can, people around you can save you from the big filmmaking mistakes, real experienced people around you. And I think that's what you see with like first time directors that like smash it out of the park. I mean, look, some people are just awesome, I'm sure, but I think also it's the people around them that guide them away from the first time filmmaker mistakes. Those experienced director of photography, those experienced producers, whatever, that kind of go, if you do that, it's going to go bad. So I do think that if you can cocoon your inexperience with experience, that's one way to kind of negate it. But the big thing about filmmaking is it's just a constant series of mistakes and refinement on mistakes. So you can't, like, you know, I remember making a short over in London because I'd seen Clerks and I was like, I'll just do Clerks. I'm a genius director, just like Kevin Smith. So there we go. There you go. I did it. And I came up with Shop Days, which was a bit of a turd of a short film.
I don't think it was any worse than anything else.
Well, but
we were creating it about that time.
That's what I'm saying. We were dropping a lot of turds at that time.
Yeah.
But I thought, I was like, look, I've studied filmmaking now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a master. I'm a guru now.
Yeah.
I've read all the books now. You know, I've studied cinematography. I know how to frame it. You know, all this nonsense. I didn't know shit about any of that stuff really still, even though I'd read, you know, 50 books on it and like looked at all the things you could and listened to all the director's commentaries. It didn't actually matter. What I had to get better at was actually doing the making of things. So I guess it does come back to you do have to, you know, to get good, you have to make and shoot, and you can't wait for other people. But that doesn't mean that you have to kind of dust off the A material for those shoots. Maybe go proof of concept, maybe go smaller scale. Maybe go, look, I just need to experiment with, you know, putting together some narratives that are on maybe it's just a scene from your thing. If it turns out good, great. If it doesn't, great. Just try again. So I'm definitely in the you gotta try and you gotta shoot. I don't know if you have to shoot that specific thing while you're also pushing it and submitting it. And I also think that maybe, you know, try not to make people do too much, right? If you got something to show them, because, you know, we still have that issue where we've made a feature film or 2 feature films or 3 feature films, and it's like, cool.
It's difficult to get people to watch them.
I don't want to watch that because that's a long time in my life.
Yeah.
So you go, well, what do I have to do? I'm showing you that I can be a director. I can do these things. And it's like, yeah, but we don't want to watch things now. You know, so
I don't want to watch low budget films, bro.
Yeah, we don't want to watch things. That sounds like, and I know that's a kind of weird because it's like, well, how does anyone get anywhere? It's this whole catch-22, and it is a little bit, but I do think at a certain point you do, I guess, develop a body of work, and also people, they don't watch your film, but they go, well, he made a film, so we don't have to watch it. I'm sure it's fine. We'll give you his $50,000, his $30,000 to make this thing. We don't want to watch those things, but we believe you, bro. We believe you.
It's the old fake it till you make it. That's what it is. Nobody's going to watch it anyway, so just fucking shoot it, get it out. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to remember. Nobody's going to care. Shoot it and move on to the next one. Shoot it and move on to the next one. I got asked to read a feature script not very long ago.
And did you accept?
When I say asked, it was really forced upon me.
Really?
By somebody who I had produced. I'd produced his short film last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And he said, and this director who I like, nice guy,
good dude.
He messaged me and he said, hey, you know, do you want to have a meeting, coffee meeting? And I was like, yep, sure, let's have a coffee meeting. And he was like, cool. I've got something to give you at the coffee meeting.
Now, you're here.
And I was like,
a present.
Yeah, I was like some sort of
beers.
I was like something I care about.
Thank you.
Yeah, something I care about, right?
Like basically a reward for your help.
Maybe. I mean, it had been like a year since I produced this film, so that might be a little weird. But, you know, if he says, hey, can I take you out for a coffee and I've got something to give you as well, that obviously does sort of suggest it's going to be something that I want. And then so on the day he ended up cancelling because he was sick, and he was like, oh, hey man, I'm sick so I can't make it. But here's what I wanted to give you. It's my feature film script. And I was like, oh.
You go, that's the worst thing anyone could give anyone else.
And I was like, oh, okay.
That's the worst thing you could give anybody.
And so he sent it to me. So he had mentioned that earlier, and then later on he sent it to me via Messenger, Facebook Messenger. I've left him on scene. That was a month ago. Left him on scene.
Yeah, you should really probably.
Well, obviously I'm going to reply, but I'm not going to.
I mean, that's quite rude that it's been a month.
Yeah. Well, it takes a little while to figure out how you're going to delicately say I'm not reading that. You know what I mean?
So also be rude to him in the meantime.
yeah.
Leading up to that rejection.
Make it worse. Yeah.
So he's extra salty.
Yeah.
When you just go, hey, bro, I know you've been waiting a month. I'm here to tell you I'm not doing that.
I'm not reading that. Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing. If someone wants me to read their script, right? And then firstly, it is a good amount of effort to read a script, a feature script, especially an amateur feature script.
Especially if they're looking for like feedback.
But that's the thing. If it comes to feedback as well, it's like, okay, well, feedback is actually hours of work, because if it's an hour and a half script and then you've got to write, you've got to go through it the first time just reading it, then you've got to go back to the beginning with an eye for notes this time, so you can't make notes the first time round, because you go, well, why would he do this, and then you read the next chapter and you go, the next scene, you go, oh, that's why he'd do that, so you've got to read the whole thing first all the way through as a whole, then you've got to go back and start it again and start doing your notes. But of course your notes need to be written in such a way as
to make sense.
To make sense and be delicate as well, so you can't just be like, this is shit, don't do it. You've got to be like, I don't think this bit works, and this is my reasoning why, and here's how I would suggest that you might fix it.
Being constructive.
Right? So it's fuck tons of work. It's heaps of work. And of course, they're not asking you to read it just for fun. They're asking you to read it so that they can get feedback. So it's like, look, guys, if you want me to read your script, you got to pay me. Got to pay me, guys.
Or
if you pay me, I'll read your script and give you some feedback.
Yeah, apparently there's it's weird. It's because so also that is another suggestion, and thank you for pointing that out. Is that if you want actual feedback on your script and you actually want to know whether you have or have not written a piece of shit, like how can you figure it out? If no one will read it, how do you figure it out? Well, one is you could place in competitions, because even if you don't, that was sort of things that encouraged me early on, is that I would place in competitions like semi-finalist or top 5 or something like that. And I'd be like, okay, well, it can't be shit because it wouldn't have got that far if it was shit. So that's one way to do it. Obviously, the other way is if you can call in a you call in the big favor from the so I got an agent who knew my uncle to read my script. He actually really didn't like it. He was actually angry, exactly how we are now.
Yeah.
He was angry that I'd submit. He basically said to me, you had one shot with this.
Yeah.
And you fucking blew it.
What do you mean, the one shot to submit to him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I'll never read anything you ever submit again.
Yeah.
And you had one shot with this, and there's typos in it, and there's things that aren't very good. And so part of it was the typos thing was fucking me being dumb, right? The not being very good thing was actually
orderly misconduct.
Yeah. But it wasn't that it wasn't that good at the time. But then I did a couple of rewrites on it, and then I got it read, and then people thought it was good. So it's kind of a weird thing, but he did say, you fucking blew it, mate. That really sat with me where I was like, damn. Do people really care about typos this much?
Yeah. I would.
But he was legitimately angry that I had wasted his time.
Yeah.
And I think my uncle was a bit like, ooh.
Yeah. He tried to help you out here, buddy, but you really shit the bed here.
Why are you stitching me up with this? Why are you stitching me up with this bad script?
Yeah.
But to be fair, he had read the script and thought it was good
and didn't notice the typos.
But he had given me some notes, which I hadn't taken on board.
Hadn't put it on, yeah.
So placing in competitions, but the other thing is just to kind of nut up and pay for proper script coverage. Like, then you will actually get decent feedback. You will do essentially what Harley is saying he won't do. Now, if you're to pay Harley, what do you reckon you'd do for a script? $500?
Oh, I feel like that's a lot. I feel like
$250.
Yeah, like basically, like on any given day of work,
$250.
I want to earn, $250 or so, or more, ideally more. But $250 a day is like a nice day's work. That's a good enough day's work for me.
Yeah,
and
be happy with that.
You spend one day on it. You wake up in the morning, you read it again, you write all your notes. You could easily spend a full day on it, of giving good constructive notes, how and why you think it should be fixed. And so yeah, somewhere around there. But yeah, I don't know, a couple of $100.
And if you're not, and also that's the thing, if it's no longer an imposition on your time, because you're paying
Kiwi dollars.
Because you're paying, exactly, that's cheap. So if you think
New Zealand pesos,
because actually the script reading service over here is like a couple of grand, I think.
Yeah. So that's a hell of a deal.
Which is a hell of a deal if you want Harley to read your script.
If you want me, completely unqualified, to read your script.
You're very qualified. What are you talking about? You produced a feature film.
Yeah, well, it's true.
You produced a couple of web series.
Yep.
Like, what? Of course, you're incredibly qualified.
People do send me these features, so maybe I am qualified.
So that's the thing, and so I would think about actually paying for script coverage, because also hopefully then you're going to get like some good, like, hey, this is really not working, or hey, this is working, but maybe here's some things to fix in it.
Mm.
I still don't imagine that anyone's going to come with that. You've wasted my time.
Yeah, that sounds a bit rough.
You've wasted my time here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that guy, right? So our friend who you produced the short film for.
Yeah.
I feel like if he'd said to you, "Hey, I've raised this much money for this script.
Yeah.
I want you to read it."
Yes. Exactly, because it was not at any point. It's like he's got this thing, but it's right at the very beginning of everything, and it's like, cool. Well, I'm not going to come on board and like find the money for you or anything like that.
I'm not going to do the job of a producer.
Well, I'm not. Like I'm not. If
Yeah.
I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it with us, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to be doing it with I'm unlikely to be going out and finding scripts that have no money attached and then like trying to find the money and fighting passionately for it and all that. You know, it's got to be more like
a huge wad of cash lands in your, not a huge wad of cash,
but
just some financing
exactly.
in place.
You go cool. So we've got a certain amount of money for this. Something could actually happen with it. Okay, all right. Well, let's have a look at it. Let's see if the script's any good. So, you've got $50,000. Okay, all right. So let's see what we can do. Let's read the script and see if the script is suitable for $50,000. You know.
Because also, here's the other thing: if you really like this person that submitted this really terrible script to you, that puts you in a really difficult situation because you can't just take a big dump on their dreams.
Yeah.
And yet, that would be the most helpful thing for them to understand what they've created.
Yeah, you've got to tactfully take a big dump on their dreams.
And so I just, like, because there's a few, and I've been in this situation before too, where like I had this great rapport with someone. I imagine in my head, because of their education and background, that they'll be a really good writer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, like they're very intelligent, they're, articulate, they're smart, they're far more educated than me, and they've been allegedly writing for years, so of course I'll read your novel or whatever. And then I read it and I was like, man, this is like fucking awful. How could anyone think this was good? But how can I how can I say that when we're kind of extra? I thought we were going to be writing buddies, and it's like, you can't be writing buddies with your person who you think is not a good writer.
Yeah.
And so then you're in another difficult situation. And Tyler's vids just mentions that Kirk Thatcher charges. I don't know who Kirk Thatcher is. Can you tell us who is Kirk Thatcher? I'm imagining he's a screenwriter or someone or a script development person. $500, which includes an hour video chat with him for his notes. That's not bad.
Yep.
That's a good deal.
Yep.
Look, some people make a living just doing this.
Yeah. Script consultants.
And
mentors, script mentors.
And that's all good too. But I do. The only person that I've read, it's not that I haven't read good scripts. I have read good scripts, but I guess when I say the only person that I've known, like as in I actually knew them well and I've read their script and been like, wow, this is really good, was Imi, who now I write with because she's so good. So that to me was the kind of the opposite, where you read something and it blows you away. You're like, fuck, this person's super talented. I wonder if we can collaborate. But that's definitely not the norm.
Well, speaking of Imi and feature films and so on.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Imi the Vegan, our web series turned feature film available on Amazon Prime and Tubi, has just been in the Vegan Film Festival in Adelaide, the inaugural Vegan Film Festival in Adelaide, and it won. We are very proud to announce that it won the best, now I don't actually know what this means, best lifestyle feature film. So I'm just going to assume that means best feature film.
Yeah, that's a real ambiguous thing.
Yeah, I don't know what the lifestyle part of it is, but it's won best lifestyle feature film. That must be the name of the category, and also the audience favorite award. So that's pretty much the two that you want to win. Like that's the two you want to be winning in any festival. You get the best feature film and the audience favorite. It shows you're onto a winner there. So Imi the Vegan, if you want to see it, you can go see it right now on Amazon Prime and Tubi. And I'll post the link on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. But just go along and search for Imi, which is IMMI, the Vegan.
How many
Amazon
awards? Prime. How many awards we've got to win to get that recognition?
Yeah. Well,
we can just keep winning them. How many?
Every award we get gives us a little bit more.
One step further.
So one little itty bitty tiptoe forward.
Yeah.
Tiptoeing through the jewelry store. And so, yes, so that's very exciting news. Well done to everybody involved and to
Thank
us.
you. Well done to everyone aboard. Us. Thank you. So we'd like to congratulate ourselves for the hard work that we did on that.
So you can go and find that. Facebook.com/Guy and Harley. We'll share it there. And then I also, last week we mentioned that I was in the paper for this being a bachelor thing.
Yeah.
And I said I'd post it on the Facebook page. So I did. That's the article about me being a bachelor in New Zealand and trying to invest and stuff like that. Well, breaking news, I'm going to be in the paper again next week.
Yep.
For another random shenanigan, which is that they're telling my first home buyer story.
Oh, yeah.
So they're telling my first
horror story.
First home buyer story. So I'm not sure how much I'll be in the article, but I've already given my answers and all that, so I'm going to be in the article, and I'll be hearing a bit more about it, I guess, next week or something like that. But yes, so...
Well, if the government need to fix anything, it's the home buying situation, isn't it?
Well, it is a bit ridiculous in New Zealand, where the median house price in small towns and cities that I want to buy in, the two places I'm thinking of buying, is close to $650,000 New Zealand dollars, $650,000 for a house, for a median price house, for an average house. And I really had my heart on getting an average house, but with my even with my brother and I's income combined, we get less than the median. We get approved for less than the median. We cannot buy an average house in our home city, in a small satellite city, at the bottom of the earth. So yeah, the system's definitely a little bit broken. I've been working for fucking 20 years.
It's also you're quite good.
Why can't I have a house?
You're also quite good with money.
Yeah, I am.
Like, it's no surprise that I can't get a house.
Yeah.
But that's because I spend all my money on camera gear.
Yeah.
But for someone as frugal as you,
yeah,
to not be able to get in with a sniff is quite disturbing.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing all my taxes soon, currently, and so we'll find out exactly how much I earned last year. And I have a feeling that it's going to be really bad. It's going to be extremely, extremely low. I feel like I'm going to have earned very, very little in the 2020 financial year, which, because of COVID, obviously, but what it means, obviously, is that if I apply for a mortgage again, I'll probably get even less than what I had applied for pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And pre-COVID, it's gone up $100,000. The average median price in New Zealand has gone up $100,000 since COVID, and I got approved pre-COVID for an amount which was not enough to buy a median house pre-COVID. So now I'm way out. Now
you do the maths.
Yeah, now I'm really fucked. But yeah, so it's exciting. Another harebrained publicity stunt to get my name in the paper.
Some people that read the Herald are going to be like, who the fuck is this
This
Harley
guy?
guy and why do they keep talking about him?
That's the thing. I think it creates the illusion that I am somebody,
Yeah, like why are they
a celebrity of some description.
again? Like,
They're always asking me. Right?
Why is he's in the paper for the Bachelor, whatever the fuck that was, singled out or whatever it was?
Yeah.
He's in the paper for fucking being single. He's in the paper for stocks and shares. He's in the paper for
being a Pastafarian.
Well, I forgot about that one.
He's in the paper
for being hairy.
He's in the paper for being hairy. He's in the paper for talking about low quality New Zealand housing and having rat infestations in our flats and mold and all of that type of thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Too.
He's in the paper for fighting a con man, staking out a con man and then beating him up in a car.
If people were to Google you and to bring up all these articles, which I imagine would take a bit of Googling. Like you wouldn't uncover it on the first page or anything.
Probably not.
But if they were kind of trying to piece together the history of your life, they'd be like, this is a man who's lived a remarkable life. Mm-hmm. This man has done many diverse things.
This was my goal at the beginning of all of this. I was like, man, I just want to have a series of fun and interesting stories to tell, and have the proof of them all there, and just kind of get out there and have fun, and get in people's faces a little. It's working, sort of.
Well, people will believe that. Tyler says Kirk Thatcher is the writer, director, and actor who worked with the Muppets and on Star Trek and Star Wars.
There you go.
$500 I'd pay for advice from a guy that worked on Star Wars.
There you go.
I mean,
easy money.
He didn't write Star Wars though, did he? Then we must be talking about the spin-offs.
Yeah. Well,
or the episode, Mandalorian or something. I don't know. Oh, speaking of the Mandalorian,
yeah.
just before have you seen the scandal with Taika Waititi?
What? That he's got 2 girlfriends now?
Yeah, well, he was caught canoodling.
Yeah, with 2 women.
With 2 women, one of which was his girlfriend, and one of which is one of the stars of the film that he's currently filming.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, man, the heady life of a director, I guess.
Yeah. No, look, he worked hard for years and years.
He toured away.
He created high quality, funny content.
Well, when you say worked hard, he worked hard for years and years. Got nominated. His first short film got nominated for an Oscar.
But that short film, he had already made features by then, right? Like he had already made Eagle versus Shark and stuff.
No, that came afterwards.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought he made Eagle versus Shark, and then he made like a short film, which he submitted, and that was just like a supplementary side project which got nominated.
If you want to, here's the thing about
Taika Waititi,
so
director of Thor Ragnarok,
and Love and Thunder is the new one.
And Jojo Rabbit.
So
I haven't seen yet.
If you want to, because this is the thing, we all go, "Oh, Taika's a genius." He is clearly a genius. Now he's hooking up with 2 birds at the same time.
Yep.
But if you want evidence that everyone is human and everyone is fallible, I would encourage you to search out, and I don't know if it's possible because they may have tried to burn and obliterate it to the ground, but search out a TV series called Radi Radi Ra, which is essentially, I believe you were on that.
Was I?
Oh, I think you were an extra or something on a couple whips or something.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Tall Poppy Syndrome.
I was on Tall Poppies with Reece
Darby.
Darby. Yeah. I was on that, and I was also in Eagle versus Shark. Taika's film.
Well, let's not forget Black Sheep.
Black Sheep, but that's nothing to do with the Flight of the Conchords guys.
I know. I just was throwing out some
just random shit that I'd been
well-known movies.
Yeah.
That tiny.
That if you know where, not even bit roles. Bit roles would be speaking.
Yeah. So you were an extra.
I was an extra in these movies, and got cut from Eagle versus Shark, where you can't see me in the scene.
So Radi Radi Ra was, on paper, what could be the greatest New Zealand comedy series of all time. A collection of luminaries, of titans of the industry, all coming together collectively to make the funniest half-hour sketch show ever produced in New Zealand. What we got? None of that. Now, who's to blame for, it being absolutely the least funny sketch comedy show of all time? I don't know. But seek it out. Radi Radi Ra. I don't know if there'll be any episodes on YouTube.
Involved with it?
Yeah, he starred in it. I don't know if he co-wrote it. And also there's talk of because there's a bit where he's you'll remember, there's a bit where he's like an alien with a funny voice.
No, I'd never seen this, I don't think.
And allegedly he just improv'd all those sections, and all of those sections are the worst sections. So you can't be a genius all the time, is all I'm saying.
Right.
Radi Radi Ra.
Yeah.
So even the name.
Yeah, not a great name.
No.
Well, I went and was a live studio audience member recently.
Can't all be sleeping with your co-stars.
No.
I can't all be having threesomes with your co-stars and successful singer girlfriend.
Yeah, your celebrity.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Tyler from Tyler's Vids, a.k.a. Tyler, the website creator who never made that website, a.k.a. Tyler, who owns the film and TV prop museum. Is maybe not exactly the name of it in Auckland. He has Taika's alien costume from Radi Radi Ra. So there you go. He's also Tyler also has the I Survived a Zombie Holocaust backpack and
I was wondering where that was.
A few other bits and pieces. Yeah, they all got donated to the museum. He asked for my Lucky Wesley sweater vest, which I
said no, sorry.
I laughed in his face.
It's too valuable.
I scoffed.
What's interesting, because I actually looked for that backpack.
Right.
Because I was like,
well, Tyler's got it.
Where's that prop? I need it for I want to do a skit with it or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And or use it in that capacity.
Yeah.
I wanted to show some of the L version anyway. Yeah. I thought it was down in the shed or something where I have some things. No, Tyler's got it.
No, you could have just messaged me. I would have told you that. Saved you a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't have. Yeah, I went down to the backyard. But anyway, so as you were saying.
So I went to be a live audience member for a TV show. I took a young lady out, and we went to the to be audience members on 7 Days, which is a sketch show. Not really a sketch show, like a live comedy panel show in New Zealand on once a week, and it's quite popular. But I can see why they call it 7 Days. Because it takes 7 days to film the fucking thing, and then they cut it down to 22 minutes. But it's like basically, like it's the host of the show talks about news topics from the last 7 days, and then there's 3 comedians on each side of him, and these comedians all improv various ideas about funny skits and funny bits and pieces, and improv funny headlines and so on related to these the last week's news headlines.
Yeah.
And it can be quite funny, but when you see them watch it, you can see why they cut it. It takes 2.5 hours to film it, and they cut it down to 22 minutes.
Yeah.
And you can see why, because then they can just use the best of the best, just the real gold, just squeeze that in there, and it just makes it seem like everything they say is genius. But in reality, what they do is they might do like 10 or fucking 20 different improvs, and then just use the best one, basically. But we as the audience member have to sit there the whole time fucking clapping like a happy disabled, like a happy person. And so
all right, backtrack on that.
Yeah, like a happy person. You have to clap a lot like a happy person, which is what I did. And so yes. So that was that story, really.
So what? It wasn't actually that fun to watch.
It was just a bit slow, just a bit long.
The novelty wore off after very quickly.
It's a bit like this podcast.
The novelty wore off like very quickly.
Around the 2-hour mark on this podcast, you're like, all right, guys, fucking wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 2.5 hours in, I was like, fucking wrap it up, mate. Christ. And yeah, but of course, they still need you to clap enthusiastically. And I also felt obliged to laugh because, that's why I'm there, is to be the live audience laughter. So if they make it funny, and it is kind of funny, you kind of like act it up a little bit. Or I do, because I'm a good audience member. So I laugh bigger, But it's quite draining. It's quite draining.
Oh, so it would be very exhausting to do that for 2 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. But it was a good place to take a date, and then I showed her around my work, because the studio, they film in the studio that I work in.
Yeah.
So I then got to show her around where I work. But I don't think it's going anywhere. So it didn't work. So none of that worked. But hey, we still had a nice time.
Update. She's not interested.
She's not interested. None of that worked. So shout out to Liam Hegarty and Jason P. Diddy Combs. They both get shout outs this week. And now I have got, it's been recently been drawn to my attention that I've got thin lips. So I've always been aware of, I've got kind of thin lips, particularly the top lip. It's kind of thin.
Yeah.
But it's not really an issue or anything like that. But then a little while ago, I was filming some botox injections. This is one of my day jobs.
Yeah.
I was the camera operator for a live botox injection streaming to Australia. And it's quite brutal. They grab the these big long syringes and they put them up inside the model's face. Have you filmed it?
I've filmed one session.
You can see.
I was quite squeamish watching it. I didn't like it.
It's pretty brutal because they put it up in your cheek or whatever, and then you can see this big long, like 2 or 3 inch needle popping around underneath their skin, like all underneath the. You can see it. You can see it all wriggling around under there, and they're just wiggling it around and sort of squeezing in this filler, which is made of whatever, and it's all super expensive. Anyway. Well, I'm always up for an adventure, right? And so I was talking to the lady that was in charge of it all, and she was like, well, we do sometimes need models.
Yeah.
And these people are not, these people who are doing the procedure, they're not like people that are getting trained or anything like that. They're not even like business owners that do that stuff. They are the people above them who teach the business owners. So the owners of these salons that do that stuff are getting trained by these guys. So they're sort of quite high ranking. They're up there in terms of their experience and their expertise. So, you can rely on the fact that they're probably going to do a good job. Anyway, I was talking to one of them and she was like, oh, well, yeah, you don't, and she was like, I said, well, hey, look, maybe I could be a model, right? And then she was like, well, the thing is, you don't need anything. And I was like, oh, stop it, get out, stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, I don't. And then she, and then she was like, well, I mean, I guess maybe the lips. Maybe we could make the lips a little fuller.
Yeah.
And I was like, because
Secret shame.
my secret, yeah, I do have thin lips. I always just suspected it. And so now I've got a thin lips complex.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story. But and so they may or may not call me up anyway to see if I want to be a model to get a lip injection. Do you think I should do that, Guy?
Yeah, you may as well.
Really? I thought you'd be like, no, why would you risk your health and your face?
Well, look, you've done so many stupid stunts now that I'm really, like integrity, not worried. Dignity, out the door. So, yeah, get fucking Botox for a laugh. Why not? But also, take a photo of your feet and upload it to your OnlyFans. Why not?
Why not? My feet are on my OnlyFans, but it's a picture. Here's the beauty of my OnlyFans. This picture was taken in Thailand 8 years ago when I got a pedicure with my girlfriend, and
Angie.
I already cried.
I know, but
And,
I didn't see the name yet.
And so I had this random photo there, and then it was like, cool. Well, obviously I'm going to just put this on my OnlyFans now, 8 years later, and I did. Just popped it up there.
So the thing about Botox is it works. It definitely works.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very good solution for looking younger. The problem...
Especially if it's free, because I think I wouldn't pay for it, but if
No.
you get it for free.
But the problem is
Shit.
there is a tipping point
Yeah.
with everyone. With every single person that gets Botox, if you continue to do it because you get it
Yeah.
and it works,
Yeah.
and then the things decrease and you
Yeah.
go, oh shit, I need to get some more.
Mm.
And it's relatively painless, a lot of people say.
Mm.
But at a certain point, and you can't really know when that point is, but at a certain point, you just look like a wax dummy and you've lost all expression in your face and you're fucked.
Yeah.
And when you're fucked, you can't unfucked the Botox. You can't get that out.
No.
And that's where we see a lot of older actors getting to at a certain point. And also, like, because people can see I film for Red Carpet TV. So I film a lot of people on the red carpet.
Mm.
And I film a lot of these people who've taken it, like, they're obviously older. They're
So
in their...
one step too far.
They're in their 50s or 60s or maybe late 40s, but let's just say 50s or 60s. And they've been clearly getting it to a point that it's now made them an incredibly hideous, disturbing-looking person.
Mm.
So that's the reason it's not worth doing, because you can't... You will get to that point. Everyone does. There's no stopping it.
Yeah.
And then you've just fucked your face because you look far more macabre than just a person with wrinkles at that point.
Yeah, you might be right. I do and I very much agree. And for a long time, I thought the same thing. But then one day, I saw some of these people that you talk about. These sort of like rich celebrity type people who might be in their 50s or whatever. But I'm going to use a female example, but it can be a male or whatever. Like maybe they've got like they've got like blonde hair and not wrinkles, and fine clothes, and they're still in good shape because they're going to the gym and they're doing all these things. And the Botox is obviously part of that, and the makeup and the hair dye and all the rest of it. It's all part of it, right? But the thing is, when it comes down to it, and you've got the choice between, being intimate, hypothetically, with this wax zombie,
skull,
this wax Botox zombie,
or
like
a
just
legit old person,
a legit, just a person in their mid-50s who's all grey and wrinkly and like flabby and and not made up and not wearing the fancy clothes and not doing all that stuff. Every single time, if you've got a choice, you're being told. I'm not saying you've got a choice that you choose. I'm saying, let's say somebody puts a gun at your head and says, pick one, right? You are always, which one are you going to choose? I feel like you're going to choose the wax zombie, right?
Not me personally.
You're going to go for the wrinkly old person.
I agree with your point.
Yeah.
In that they are both actually incredibly scary and hideous. Right?
Yeah.
That's really the point you're making.
Yeah. Well, yeah. One lesser so.
Well, you are, because you're saying you would rather make love to a waxen zombie than a person that looks naturally old. That's legitimately what you're saying. So you're really, casting some aspersions on the old person there.
Well, they're the same age, remember. Keep in mind that they're the same age. Yes, Richard, this is happening
It's
now.
happening right now, Richard.
Yeah, they're the same age.
It's happened already, Richard, really. It's already happened.
They're the same age. One of them is just, more been maintaining themselves than the other one.
Well, yeah, but also is like has legit poison running through their veins.
Yeah.
Not through their veins, through their skin.
Face.
Through their skin.
Yeah.
Through the muscle fibers around their skin.
Yeah.
Fucking Jesus. So I would say that no, I would pick the old person, but I do agree that is also very scary.
I feel like you wouldn't. I feel like if you were picturing,
I've seen him. I've pictured pictured doing
one
it.
of these red carpet.
Yeah, I've pictured it. I mean, like, what's? I've always been like, I was like, no. I mean, have you seen? I'm assuming you haven't, but have you seen the Friends reunion?
No. I've seen a few shots of it here and there.
So obviously, the passage of time is very disturbing to witness.
Time is a cruel mistress,
and all of those things. But the person who is now starting to look really scary is Courteney Cox because of this. Now, she always looked amazing, and she looked amazing for a very long time, and she is slightly older than the rest of them. So
no, Phoebe's the oldest one apparently.
Well, she seems to have done it better,
on the natural way.
Done it better.
But the guys, not so much David Schwimmer, but Matt LeBlanc and
they look terrible too. I'm not excluding, but obviously
that's kind of exactly the argument, right? You've got the Courteney Cox.
I would sleep with Fat Joey anytime. I would choose Fat Joey after waxing skull zombie Courteney Cox at this point.
I wouldn't.
Easy.
I wouldn't.
Way more.
I wouldn't.
Fat Joey is welcoming. He's got the smile. Yes, he is great. He's a bit chunky. Well, who cares?
Yeah.
Whereas like waxing like a zombie death mask Courteney Cox. Come on. So Richard wants to know what he's missed.
Well, you
really have to go back.
But
essentially, you've missed a long and lengthy discussion about how to make films, when to make films, indie filmmaking, what you do when you're a writer.
Spermquest.
There's
an update on Spermquest.
Fat Joey.
Auditions. Actually, I saw Richard at my audition. The one that is, I can't say what brand it's for, but if I get it, it will open up a whole new world for me. Richard was at that one as well.
I'm really looking forward to Richard's part on the most popular TV show in New Zealand, which he will be in shortly.
Shortland Street.
Which you have been dreaming of getting on for the last 15 years or so. Have not achieved that. Richard did it. He came back from London, did it in a couple of weeks. It was more than a couple of weeks, but he did it.
Yeah.
No worries.
Well, he's a more experienced actor than me.
His Holiness says Fat Joey all day, to be honest.
And Courteney looks scary.
Yeah, I agree with you,
His
Holiness.
Not me, I'd be Courteney. But but yes, I also have some bad but not entirely surprising news, which it turns out that my dad is an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Jesus.
So I didn't know that until he sent me he forwarded me a DM, and it was like a DM message, and it was some anti-vax like nonsense, and I was like, okay, concerning, but not entirely surprising.
The worst part is, who is the hardest part to convince, that they're an insane person, is going to be your dad. So you take an anti-vaxxer, right?
Yeah.
And you go, look, this is really fucking dumb. Let's just break down where you've got your facts from. Let's break down where all I've got my facts from. Let's just kind of do a side-by-side comparison, and let's kind of just be real for a second, right? The anti-vaxxer is going to go, no, fuck you.
All of your sources are compromised.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, so they're going to flip the fuck out, right? Now, add in the father-son dynamic to that, right? And you go, you say this to your dad who always knows best, dad who's been the boss around here for a long time, dad who doesn't like any talk back, and suddenly it's even more difficult to convince him that he's been led astray. What you should get him to do is, he probably won't, but you should get him to go, oh, that's interesting, like we're all entitled to our opinions. I would suggest having a little check out of this journalist who does work about this type of subject. He's called David Farrier. He has a newsletter which he updates, and just have a little look and read through some of this stuff. That's it. But you can't, did you lose your shit?
No. I was just like, oh, Dad, don't tell me you're an anti-vaxxer. And he was like, well, in that case, my lips are sealed.
Yeah.
So clearly he is. And he was the only one to sad emoji respond to my vaccination post on Facebook announcing that I was fully vaccinated. But the thing is that, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know if my dad gives a shit about the science behind it or anything like that, or even like the side effects. I don't even think he necessarily cares about that stuff or is afraid about that stuff. I think that my dad has an attitude, which is not entirely without its merits, this attitude that says, like, let me do what I want, let me do what I do. I'm just another organism on this planet, just walking around, and what I do is none of your damn business, and you can't tell me or force me to do anything. And he, like, I'm a little bit like that myself, but, maybe he's like next level along,
Yeah.
And so basically I think his issue with the vaccine is maybe nothing to do with the vaccine itself. I don't think he believes there's 5G nanobots that's going to be coursing through my veins. I think it's to do with government overreach, which is probably his main issue, which is that, okay, well, I don't want people forcing me to have this. Not that the vaccine is compulsory, just by the way, but obviously it's going to be strongly recommended that everybody get it. So I think that's where his problem comes from with it. I think that's what he's unhappy about it.
Yeah, very childish.
Maybe, yeah. I mean...
don't like being told what to do.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't mind the idea of, like, we're all just wild animals just wandering around this planet, and then we have this false... authority, from the system, which tells us what we have to do, right? And there's these rules and regulations, and why? Because you fucking told me I have to. And why? Because he told you, and everyone's telling everyone what to do, and it's like, well, look, if I'm just another animal walking around this planet, fuck off, all of you. You guys can't tell me what to do, and you only live once, and all that type of thing.
Yeah, to me, that attitude leads you to being a royal cunt.
Well,
just in your day to day.
Maybe. I don't think he is cunty, but I do think that if he if too many people like him refuse to get the vaccine, it can have some very negative impacts on people around them.
Yeah.
As the virus gets spread. So yes, but.
Richard retracted a message.
Shit, must have been bad.
Never retract, Richard.
No, he said it was a vibrator audition.
Yeah. Why would you retract that?
But then he decided that his joke was too crass, I guess, and he took it back.
He shared too much, overshared.
Yeah. I watched Gallipoli on Netflix. 6 or 7 episodes. Very good. It's about the Anzacs, the Australian New Zealand Armoured Corps, working together with the British in World War I to fight the Turks in Turkey in Gallipoli. And it was good. It was actually really good. I didn't expect it to be very good. I thought it would be kind of like low budget and shitty because it's about Australia and New Zealand. But actually, really good. It was really up there in terms of like war series. I can highly recommend Gallipoli. It was actually really good. The fighting was good. The action was good. The characters were good. So can recommend Gallipoli.
Harley's Hitler moments. What is the section called?
Hashtag Harley Shitler moment.
Harley's Hitler moment.
But I'll have you know, Guy, that Gallipoli is World War I and Hitler is World War II.
My apologies.
So get your facts straight.
This was not a hashtag Harley's Hitler moment.
It wasn't. Exactly. It was Gallipoli. Predates Hitler. Hitler was fighting in World War I, though.
He was.
He
got amongst it.
Yeah. He was a corporal. He won the Iron Cross.
That was part of his ascension.
Yeah.
Was his pedigree.
Well, if you think about it, like World War I would brutalize you so much that you might become a person like Hitler. He was an artist before World War I, just trying to chase his dreams.
No, I'll tell you what made him Hitler.
Was trying to be an artist.
Being a struggling artist. Being a struggling artist and getting his shit rejected all the time turned him into Hitler. So that's what can, if you're thinking about going down the indie filmmaking route, just remember that you may wind up like Hitler. there is a possibility that a switch will be flipped,
Yeah.
right? Because of all this rejection, because of people piling on your art, not appreciating it, not thinking you're very good, being very dismissive of it, that you just fucking flip out and turn into a hit lip, because that's really, that's the, and, we've all met Hitlers in the filmmaking industry, to be fair. Dictators on set.
Indeed.
Well, we should probably
wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yep. We all have stuff to do. I need to get back to my taxes, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm proud to say that it looks like I won't be being audited this year.
That's nice. Have you done your taxes?
I've just done my I did my taxes on my birthday.
Yeah.
And I just got the message back.
Yeah.
Saying that they've, and a letter of acknowledgement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I've got to do all of my personal income tax, and I'm currently just getting caught up on the GST that I'm overdue on for the company. So I'm overdue for the GST on the company. I've almost finished the GST, and I've still got all of the entire year of 2020 income tax to figure out. So that's cool. And I've got like 3 weeks to do it or something like that.
Yeah, really running out of time.
Yeah. I should have done this months ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to start paying for zero. I'm going to start paying for it.
Well, I'm going to start paying for an accountant.
Well, I tried that. I still can't figure out what accountants do.
Oh.
I haven't heard a thing from them. I signed up with them, and the tax time has come and gone. I haven't heard a fucking thing from them. And my shit is getting sent to them and to me. IRD sending stuff out to them and to me. And I just can't figure it out. Haven't heard anything from them.
To be honest, I think you've found the answer in that you figured out you can't figure out what they do. The answer is that they don't actually do anything.
Yeah, until you send them all the shit.
Well, no, I was going to say they don't actually do anything if you're educated to a point on your taxes. So if you have a very good understanding of how, you file your tax, the things you file for, the things you claim as expenses, all that sort of thing, right? If you know that, if you've learnt that,
then you don't need them?
Then essentially that you're just paying them for that.
Yeah.
So the question is it more trouble to pay them, $2,000 or maybe less or maybe more?
I think it's like 800.
I think it all depends on what they're doing, like whether they're doing your business as well, like a really successful business as opposed to
our business. Yeah.
Which doesn't have many transactions.
No.
So they don't have to do much work because there's not many transactions. So, because to me, it's like, okay, now I've done this, and now I've got all the spreadsheets in place, and I've got everything in place.
So
now,
why the fuck would you send it to them?
Well, the answer is because I don't want to be stressed about it and get it wrong. Because even though I haven't got it wrong, and I'm even being audited, got it right. So it's like, so I'm doing it right. I know I can do it right. Why would I do it? And it's more just the peace of mind to say, when the tax man comes knocking, talk to my accountant.
Yeah.
Yeah, my accountant will sort that out.
Yeah.
And also it gets different when your businesses get bigger.
Yeah.
And it's different if you have to start making, payments.
We should really be funneling all of our personal freelancing through Pigville Productions and have the accountant running the Pigville Productions.
Only if they could make more money back, which I don't think they could. Only if they could make more money back for you as than you could claiming as an independent contractor.
I'm pretty sure if you do it this way, you get to claim the GST, and then as a sole trader at the end of it, when you take your salary out of the business, you still get to claim back on your expenses.
You do, but you don't get any
you
tax
as an individual.
back, for example.
Well, it depends how much tax you paid. For every job that you did through Pigville Productions, how much tax you paid on it. You might have overpaid or underpaid. It's up to you how much you
only
want to
get
pay.
back the tax you set aside for yourself, and you carry over tax, but they never give you tax refunds.
Well, on tax refunds, we'll end this episode of the Guy and Harley podcast. It's been a lot of fun. Please make sure you go on to facebook.com/guyandharley. Please go on to patreon.com/pigville. You can give us $1 a month. You can go to YouTube and search for Pigville and the number 2. You can also go find Guy's YouTube channel, The Savage Filmmaker, and subscribe on that.
Don't subscribe to that unless you really want to And what I mean by that is I don't need any of you fucking people's pity subscribing to me, all right? I need to calculate my my viewership based off people with a legitimate interest in filmmaking and gear reviews. If that doesn't sound like your cup of tea, don't subscribe.
Ooh.
Take that.
Ooh. All right. Well, fuck
But
it.
don't unsubscribe if you've already subscribed,
That'll hurt my feelings.
because I haven't really had that yet.
And also, please go along and watch Older and Emmy the Vegan and I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. You can find them all on Amazon Prime as well. So that would really help us, particularly watching Older. That would be really, really good if you could watch that.
We also didn't get a leap in reviews of Emmy the Vegan since our last request. So just putting that out there.
If anybody would like to
chuck a review on Prime or IMDb, we need more reviews.
If you go to IMDb and just log in with Facebook, you can give ratings and reviews. You just create an account with Facebook on IMDb.
We just won best. What was it?
Best
lifestyle feature film
and audience favorite.
So
get along, guys. Emmy the Vegan on IMDb.
Out of how many movies?
I don't know.
I thought it was like 40 or something.
Could be. Wouldn't be surprised. All right. Well, we will see you next week.
See you later.